And time can also do this sometimes. Like 20 years after the event, sometimes you'll look back and say, you know what, my ex-wife also did wonderful things for me, thank you. So sometimes time can help.
Yes, there's a thing called a central limit theorem. See, nobody knows the consequences of any action. If you do an act, like you do your show,
yeah.
We have no way of knowing all the consequences globally of what that's going to do. But we do know that the probability increases as the ripple effect occurs to get to a perfect balance of supporters and challengers. It will regress to a mean between the pairs of opposites. And so we know that. So the longer time goes on, an event that you thought was terrible or terrific has the capacity, if you awaken your intuition, it can have the capacity to neutralize itself over time. But some people dramatize it and run the story. And as long as they run the story, they're decreasing the probability of having that story being neutralized. And they dramatize it, and then they become a victim of their history, not a master of their destiny.
Yeah, I did that with my parents' divorce when I was 7. And, it wasn't necessarily a traumatic event, but for some reason I latched onto it, and I told myself this same story for decades, John. And it wasn't until I got some perspective and went back and interviewed each one that I realized that was not a great moment of my life, but there was a lot of positives. And there was a lot of positives for both of my parents. My mom became this amazing independent woman. They were both happier. We actually did great. My mom showed me the world. It was like, oh my God, but I blocked it out for so long.
Well, we create a fantasy about how it should be, ought to be, supposed to be, got to be, have to be, must, and need to be.
Yeah.
And then we compare it to what it is, and no matter what goes on, there's always a pair of opposites in what is. And so if we compare it to a fantasy, which is all positive, we can't appreciate our life. And so we get depressed because we're comparing our current reality to a fantasy about how we think it should have been.
Yeah.
And that holds us back from appreciating the magnificence of our life.
I want to, let's talk right now, because I want to talk about 2 things I saw in your movie, which are perfect examples. Let's talk about it now. There's one point in the movie where you're talking to a woman who had been traumatized by a violent act. I think ex-boyfriend or somebody had knocked down the door and beat her up or something.
Her brother,
right. And you were talking to her, trying to get her to find the positives of a massively traumatic experience. And I can see people in the movie theater bristling for the fact that you weren't celebrating her victimhood and trying to, find this bad man. And you were like, okay, but what positive came from that experience? And people's jaws were dropping. And can you talk about that and why people have that reaction? Because in this day's culture, it's like, no, there's the victim and then there's this, and that's clearly a bad thing that happened. What happened there and what were you trying to do?
What the London Real Investment Club actually does for you, it gives you the keys to open that door to the inside deals. In the last 3 weeks, I've participated in 3 incredible deals: a layer 2 Bitcoin protocol, an incredible AI protocol. The deal flow is beyond what I expected. I don't think I've ever seen a model like this that just gives average folks the opportunity to be behind the deals, and that's exactly what we've done. Not only that, you get to hang out with Brian Rose every week. And for me, that was huge because I look at Brian as somebody who's not only an expert in the space, and I think is on the leading edge, but just the leading edge of thought with London Real and the work he's doing there. To anyone who's taking a serious look at this, I know it's a big decision. It was a big decision for me and my family, and it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I wish you all the best and hope you come join us.
William James, the father of modern psychology in about 1890s, said that the greatest discovery of his generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their perceptions and attitudes of mind. So there's an event out there. It's true. How you see the event is totally up to you. The event is neutral until you come to the table with an expectation or perception. Let me give you an example. If I was to pitch your hand and put it on a table here, let's imagine a table here, and I put your hand on it, and I took a big sledgehammer, and I slammed your thumb. And you went, whoa, you'd probably imagine that being traumatic, and you'd probably be angry at me and disperse, because the associations you have and the expectation you have is that's trauma. But what if I prefaced it? I said, I'm going to give you $1 billion in cash, tax-free US dollars in cash. I'm going to give you the mansion of your dreams on the location of your dreams, tax-free. It's yours. The male or female of your dreams, now being introduced to you, you find the person you always wanted. And I stack up enough benefits to that. And I said, all I have to do is slam the thumb. Your thumb will be probably injured for about 10 days, and 2 weeks you'll be normal again. But I put enough of those on there. I asked how many would allow me to slam the thumb. Every hand goes up.
Sign me up.
So now the expectation, the perception is completely different because you have new associations associated with the same event, slamming a thumb. So is the slamming a thumb trauma? If you say so. If it's associated with more advantages and disadvantages, it's not. Somebody can actually be a radical fundamentalist in religion or whatever and die for their cause, and they will take it on because they've been told that in the afterlife you're going to get 72 virgins or something. You're going to stack up enough benefits, they'll go and do something because of the associations, expectations, and how you perceive it.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.